Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Slack Apps Week 2. We'll wait a couple minutes for everybody to join. So I guess in the meantime, you can actually keep talking about the low-level languages.
Oh yeah, we were just having a fun little chat. Oh wait. Okay, I opened Twitch up twice. So I was hearing myself. That was weird. Yeah, so we were having a fun little chat about what your first programming language was, and you shared that you actually started learning Java in middle school. And I thought that was unusual because people typically start learning languages that are, in my opinion, easier than Java. Java's actually kind of hard. And we were talking about the difference between Java being a garbage collected language and there being a whole set of lower level languages that are even harder than that. And but you started off on one of the ones that's relatively difficult, and now you're kind of tackling Python and JavaScript and moving up into higher level programming languages. And it's just an interesting path. It's not the common path that I've heard of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems pretty normal with my school at least, but it's actually been like really fun to start interfacing things a lot more. I found that Java is very much like, I don't know, like you don't really get to the point where you start interfacing things as much, whereas like JavaScript, you can see like a Slack app, for example, which is really nice.
Yeah, the challenge I think with some of the low level stuff is it's hard to see how that fits into the real world. You're like, okay, cool, I can write a thing that like asked me my name and then it said hello for my name. That's great, but like I don't know. I play with apps all day and I can't see what I did in that app. And that's I think that's really the thrill that I get from JavaScript, because it's like, oh, that's actually what we all are using in our web browsers and on our phones. Like, it's like stuff that you can feel and touch and share with your friends, which is cool.
Exactly. I completely agree. Yeah. So I don't know if I can see how many people joined, but.
You want to give it a couple minutes, or I guess I'm seeing 7.
Let's give it a little bit of time.
Cool. Still trying to figure out how to have, oh, I think the chat is working for me too now. Cool.
I see.
So you've started working in Python, you've started working in JavaScript. Are there any other kind of like technologies that you've had your eye on that you think you might try and learn next?
I don't know about not necessarily technologies, but I really want to get into like cloud architecture and like networking and stuff. Just anything to do with like serverless architectures I find really interesting, but I also know nothing about.
I'll be honest with you, like I still am a noob when it comes to the cloud stuff. Like there's folks that I work with that know a lot more about it than I do. And yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty exciting. I think a lot of the industry is moving in that direction and figuring it out. And in that period of time where people are figuring it out, there's like a lot of noise, but also, and that can make it challenging to like learn is why I mentioned that. But there's also a lot of really cool things happening.
Yeah. Okay, so Matt wants to go over the homework. So yeah, so I can try to go over that for a second if you guys would like. So let's see. So let me open up. So if everybody who's here could like comment in the chat, have the majority of you guys been having like any trouble with submitting your homework, or are you just like still getting it in? Oh, okay. Okay, so I think the homework was like a couple issues, maybe like it's usually like 2 to 3. And we can also go over how to connect to the local host. So do you mean the ngrok by that, Cam? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So do you have ngrok installed, or do you need help with that?
Fifi, do you think we could like maybe just kick off with the slides, and then like I think we were talking about maybe spending 5-ish minutes going over the starting point, and maybe that will help clear up some of these questions, and we can still ask the room if there are still more questions, and pause, then continue.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, so we are going to get started now. So yeah, everybody, welcome to Building Slack Apps Week 2. This is presented by me. I'm Fifi, one of your instructors, and also Ankur, one of the Slack mentors.
Hey everyone. Sure. Okay. Hey, so my name's Ankur. I work at Slack. I've been at Slack for a little more than 4 years. I work on a pretty fun team. It's actually called Developer Relations. If you've met Alyssa, who was on our stream last week, then you know at least one of my team members there. We do all sorts of stuff, but we spend a lot of our time working on open source software. And for those of you who've completed your week 1 homework, if you're already familiar with the Bolt framework, that is actually one of the main projects that my team gets to work on. And so a lot of our job is building that open source package and the other ecosystem of packages it both depends on and is inspired by, because we have Bolt in other languages like Python and Java as well. And working with the community of developers to understand like what their needs are and how we can try and make Slack's platform better to be able to address those needs. We spend a lot of time talking to folks who work in big companies who are trying to make a Slack app that'll just like help unblock their team or make them more productive or make them, I don't know, happier by sharing memes all day. That happens a little bit too. But yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so to give you guys a quick overview of what this live stream is going to be about, mainly it's going to be a lot of conceptual ideas. So we're going to definitely spend time applying these concepts to creating a pull slacking app, which will be like the demo app for this live stream. But a lot of these concepts are things that you're going to be carrying over into the next projects. So these include BlockKit, modals, and views, and shortcuts. Okay, so you might be wondering, what are modals? I want to hand that over to Ankur to answer.
Sure. So by the way, I know some folks in the chat are still talking about issues with week 1. We'll start off with that before we get into the code for this week. But let's just go over some of the concepts real quick so that we're all on the same page and we can move forward from there together. So modals are the idea of this like pop-up window that you see in front of Slack. So sometimes you'll be doing a thing like, I don't know, we're chatting away in a channel and there's a little button next to a message and it's like, oh, do you want to request something, or do you want to accept something? Apps can do all sorts of things, but one of the coolest things about apps is they can present these modals to a user, so the user can just fill out a whole bunch of information all at once without having to like talk to a bot that doesn't maybe understand their like English or their typos and all that stuff and like parse it all out from like a natural language sentence. We get it in like a structured format, which is like essentially a form that we're all used to filling out on the web.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we know what modals are, we're also going to be covering views, and views are kind of like app customized like areas or like visual areas that you have within a modal. So this helps you like interface things a lot better. and just help with like the overall user experience. Okay. Next is, what is BlockKit? I think also Ankur would be better with answering this question.
All right, I'll take this one. BlockKit is like a Slack-specific technology. You're probably not going to read about it in other APIs or in other places, and so are modals and views, but those are really similar to similarly named things in other places. So when you hear BlockKit, you should think like, okay, this is a Slack-specific thing. And essentially what it is like a UI and UX library of components that you can put together. We call each of those components blocks. You can put them together to basically create a user interface. And so just to put it in the context of views and modals that Fifi and I just talked about, views are basically built out of blocks, these BlockKit blocks. And those views are used to put on a surface, right? And a surface can be a modal. There's other surfaces as well. So BlockKit is like the fundamental building blocks. Like I want a button, I want a paragraph, I want a heading, I want a divider, I want to drop down a date picker. They're all the like fundamental building blocks of what you can use to create a user interface.
Okay, yeah. So then I guess to answer what is a shortcut. So when you build a general like Slack app, any sort of a Slack app, you can create a shorthand way of accessing that through just like the typing field. So if you use a slash command, just like a regular backslash, then you can search through all of the apps that are integrated with your workspace. Our app will also be doing this just to make it a little bit more accessible for the user. Okay. So you might also be wondering just like why this system is useful and if there are any alternatives. I think as an engineer, Ankur would also be better at answering this section.
Okay, yeah, totally. So yeah, this system is something that we have kind of invented and drawn inspiration from other systems like it. So if you happen to have built things in HTML and on the web before, don't worry, by the way, if you haven't, like we'll go over all the basics, and this actually should be a lot easier than that. But if you've done all that before, you're probably familiar with like, okay, I got a little tag for like an input element, and I got a tag for a paragraph, and I got a tag for a heading, and that's all great, but like it can sometimes get really complicated and really tricky. Things are embedded in one another, and what we wanted to do with Slack was simplify that whole problem of building that user interface and delivering it to your user. So one of the greatest things about this is like you can write your BlockKit blocks to express a view, and it doesn't really matter if your user is on the desktop Slack app or on a mobile app or viewing it in their browser. We've done the right thing to present that in a way that looks mostly nice. Sometimes it doesn't look as nice as other times, mostly nice, without forcing you to understand what it takes to like deal with like responsive design, which is this idea that like UIs have to scale to proportion with the area that they're presented in. So like you don't want to show the same UI on a small phone that you would on a big desktop monitor. That's responsive design. So what we've done by basically building this like block system is said like, hey, don't worry about all that. We got you covered. You tell us what blocks you want to present. It's like a pretty easy JSON structure. It doesn't have as many like paper cuts and weird edge cases as HTML and similar technologies do. And you get this like awesome interface that works everywhere, which is pretty cool. And then we kind of like try to make it as reusable as possible across Slack, which is why we started talking about views and surfaces, because once you learn that, that should be something you can use anywhere in Slack. It shouldn't just be specific to modals. There's other surfaces like App Home. You should really use all that you just learned in those places as well.
Okay. Yeah, that was definitely a very thorough answer. Thank you for clarifying all of those points. So yeah, what's next is just kind of getting into the actual code and applying all of these concepts into an actual project. So what we will be building today is a polling app that can be accessed as a shortcut. and uses a modal to like interface with the user. So the user will be able to fill out a form that is a modal, and then be able to post that poll that they specify in the chat, and enable users to actually vote within that message. Okay, so let me stop this and let's get to Visual Studio Code. So if you want to follow along, make sure to have your text editor open, and just start following along. Okay. Okay. So can you see my screen right now?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Okay, how about now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing that you want to do is to make a folder dedicated to this live stream. So I have like week 2 live stream right here. So I don't need to make one, but make sure to do that. And then navigate to your terminal. So right here. Oh, wrong thing. Yeah, so navigate right here. And then make sure that you've actually CD'd into the right directory. So I'm right here, but I need to be in my my week 2 live stream. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so once you are in there, make sure to actually start so ngrok. I know that some people have been having issues. I can help afterwards with the with like setup and everything or installations. But one thing I would recommend is to make sure that you have it killed first, right? So if you already have an ngrok server running, then it's going to be an issue, and it won't let you it'll just cause problems with your Slack app. So I'll show you how to kill that right now. Okay, so I have this session opened right now. And then if I go here, oh, the command is cd to change directories. So if you want to check to see if ngrok is still running and you need to kill that server, you go to top, and then you should see like a bunch of things coming up. And then if you can see ngrok there, then it is an issue. So just kind of wait and check for the PID right here.
It might not come up that way, and that's okay. I got one quick hot tip for you. The way that I figure out if ngrok is running or not is I use, well, on Mac, there's like a program called Activity Monitor, and on Windows, there's Task Manager. You should be able to look through that and find it and kill it, or I think it's called force quit in Mac and end task in Windows or something like that. But that's a reasonable way to figure it out. And you'll know that you have this problem if you try to start ngrok and the first thing it tells you is like, oh, that port is already used. That's when you know you have to go find it and force quit it or end task it. But otherwise, you should be fine.
Okay, perfect. That is a much easier solution. So yeah, anyways, you should have ngrok running. And then after you have this set up, you should go to Slack and create a Slack app. So I'll just go over that again. It was covered in last week's live stream, but I think it would be valuable to just go over again.
We got at least one person who's asking if we could zoom in like some.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'll do that. Okay, so. Okay, can you see like the developing Slack apps locally?
Yep.
So from here, actually, I think I went to the wrong thing, but if you just go to like the Slack platform,
Maybe I can help. What are you looking for?
I'm just looking for, oh, I think it's a Slack API. So slack.com and then apps. Yes, okay.
Yeah, there it is.
So let's see. So then you just like make your app as normal. So I don't know, I'll do like polling. And then I'll do my live stream, my development workspace, and I'll make my app. And then afterwards, I'll go back to Visual Studio. Okay, I got the server. So yeah, after you make the app, and I'm doing it in this way because it's just, that's usually the way that you'll develop Slack apps. So, so yeah.
Cam3207, you're asking how do you know what localhost number to pick? You get to choose. There's a reserved set of numbers. Anything below, I think it's 1024 is like reserved. You should not use anything below 1024 because that's where like the system processes run. But gotcha. So you're picking numbers and it's giving you an error. Share a little bit more info. Like, what is the error? Is it telling you that the port is already being used or anything like that? I usually go with 3000 if that makes your life easier. It's the one that I use almost in every project. I think we can move on. If we get more info about this error, we'll jump back out.
Okay. So yeah, it's back to your text editor right here. And let me know. So can you see, or should I zoom in a little bit more? Is that easier to read?
Okay. For me personally, it looks great. If somebody else in the chat says anything, I'll let you know.
Okay. So from here, you're going to first initialize your node package manager. So npm, and then just init, and then just like kind of click through all of these, I guess. And you should notice that you have a package.json file right here. And then also do npm install Slack/Bolt. So this will install the Bolt framework, which we will be using to develop the app.
Which my team and I build.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Cam3207, you're saying you get the error 502. Honestly, I'm not super familiar with what that is. I think that's like bad server gateway or something. I think that's the HTTP error code you get when there's some problem setting up the tunnel internal server. If there's any of my Slack colleagues hanging out in the chat, maybe you could help out with that. But my advice is to just maybe not try it right now and just follow along with what we're doing on the stream, and we can help you solve that later.
Yeah, feel free to DM me or anything afterwards, and I will help you out with like any of these sort of problems. Okay, so now that we have this, you can go back to your Slack app. Okay, so you go back to the Slack app. Okay. Can you?
No, I can't.
Okay. All right. So can you see now? Yeah. So then you go to like your app and you get the basic information, right? So the first piece of information that you want will be, well, first install. So I think it like makes you add like one like OAuth scope or something like that now, just to actually have something to install to the workspace. So after you do that, you can install. Okay, and then I would recommend not sharing this. I'm like going to delete it. So go and get your bot token, and then go back to your text editor, Can you see my text editor right now?
No.
Okay. Okay, how about now?
Yep.
Okay, so then go back to your text editor right here and type in, so you want to export your Slack bot token. And this will be, this will just like be the way to get your credentials for the, for your app. And then you want to do the same thing again for your Slack signing secret. This will be in, this will just be in your basic information, and then you go all the way down and grab your signing secret from there. So that'll be.
I think you might have a typo. Sorry, I don't want to get like.
Oh no, thank you.
Yeah.
No thanks. Okay.
Perfect.
There we go. So yeah, after that, you should be able to go here into your folder and then create a new file called app.javascript right there. Okay. And then after that, we can just add like the basic stuff that is going to be required for the app. So the first thing is going to be like the actual app for the actual framework. So it's going to be from slack.bolt, which we just downloaded.
Look at those editor completions.
Yeah, Visual Studio Code is my favorite. Okay, so, and then, oh my bad. And then also I would get .n. So let's see. So yeah, do that. And then this keeps track of your environment variables. So that's what we just set right here when we did like export Slack signing secret and the bot token. So that like manages everything, and it just keeps everything for you. And then you want to make your, want to actually get your environment variables. So you get the token, so that'll be process, and then. So a lot of this you don't really have to memorize, but like you can usually find it on the Slack website, but it is useful to kind of understand instead of always going there and trying to, I don't know, trying to find it. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind just like pausing there and giving a quick explanation of what's going on. So just a couple minutes ago, Fifi was typing in the lower half of her screen to export the variables that, you know, Slack in all caps bot token and Slack signing secret, which is great because like now that those are environment variables there, we can use them in our code without like copy and pasting those values directly into the code. And the reason why in general that's a good idea for programming is never hard code any secrets into your source code, because one day you're going to push this code up to GitHub or you're going to share it with somebody else, and you don't want to have to keep track of like, oh my gosh, did I put any secrets in there that are like going to make this insecure, because now they have access to the secrets and they can like spoof my app or trick my users or whatever it might be. So it's just safer as a overall practice to just get in the habit of never putting those kinds of values in your code. In this little example, like it probably doesn't matter. We're just doing like a little live stream, a little homework. She says she's going to delete the token later. But this is about really just building the right habit and doing it well. And the syntax that she's using here, process.end, the name of the value that we were using, it's just, that's how Node.js works. Node.js has a built-in thing called process.end that contains all the environment variables that were exported from the terminal. There's other ways to set environment variables, not important for now, but this is just like the built-in way that Node knows how to read those values that she was setting down below.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, so I'm just going to continue getting the signing script. And that's pretty much it for this, but I noticed I did make a mistake here. So this is the configs, which we will need to run right here. Okay. So this is basic setup. As I said, like this is like all pretty low level stuff. Like you'll usually need to use most of these lines of code. So that's why I'm typing them out. And then also just to make sure that we know our app is actually running, we'll do async. And then, so an asynchronous function basically just allows you to run when runs when like something is supposed to happen. Like that sounds really vague, but for example, in this case, it would be if something in port 3000 runs. So if the app starts in port 3000, sorry. That makes sure that the app is running, and then it notifies us so that we know. That. I don't know what I'm. Okay. So,
and Cam 3207, earlier you were asking like what number do you pick? It usually doesn't matter, but you just need the number to correspond to whatever you're putting on this line of code that Fifi's writing. So she's kind of decided to use 3000 as the default, but it means that like she's able to use any other port number too just by setting it in her environment variable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So so once we know that the app has started, then we can just log in the console. I don't know that. I don't know. So bolt has started, and we can do that here, and we will know that it's working. So now all we have to do is actually run the app, and it should work out. It says, okay.
Module not found. Let's see what line. Cannot find module on. Oh, interesting. You said app.js. It seems like it might not even know how to find app.js.
I know what the issue is. Okay, yeah. So I need to cd into. I see. Okay, yeah, you're right. So, okay. Okay, yeah, I think I might have done this in the wrong directory. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So just Fifi, feel free to keep going. I'll keep talking while you're doing it.
Yeah.
So Fifi moved the files that she was using. Sorry, she created the files at the top level directory outside of the week 2 directory, and now she wants to just kind of redo some of that inside the week 2 directory so that it's all kind of tucked away in there.
Okay, so, and then we can just copy and paste this. So,
you might not need to do that. It should be still active because it like lasts for the duration of this terminal.
Oh.
All right, let's see. Scroll up just a little bit. Let me see if there's anything in there that's helpful. Oh, so now it's saying on line 2 it wasn't able. So let's go look at line 2. line 2 is saying, oh yeah, and I think actually Rebecca Shee in the comments might have already noticed what the problem was. We did forget to npm install .env.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, so no, perfect. Okay, so Bolt has started. Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure. So it says that you're following the instruction. Oh, never mind. Okay, so let's see. Okay, you guys can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now we're gonna get to like actually starting to build the Slack app. So the first section will be actually just building the shortcut. So the way that the users will be able to fill out the form for what they want the app to look like and to get the information from the users. So in this part, we will start with this function header. So it's just going to be app.shortcut. And then we're going to be using this, which is called it's called the callback ID. And we'll be using this throughout. You'll notice that we'll be using this throughout the view in order to both listen for when an event happens, as well as to kind of link an event to a view. So after that, we're going to create an anonymous asynchronous function again. And it's going to have act, shortcut, and client. So these, you'll notice that all of the async functions that we have will have like these parameters. And basically what happens is that whenever a shortcut or whatever function we're calling is invoked, basically you'll get all of this information from when that event occurs. And we will then utilize that, all of that data in order to build our app. So, okay. Now you just complete the rest of the async function. And then in the body, we need to make sure that we actually acknowledge when the event happens. So if you don't do that, this is very important and it usually causes a lot of errors. So if you don't acknowledge something within like 3 seconds, then like your app, there's just a bunch of errors with your app. So make sure that you have this line.
Yeah, that act is your way of letting Slack know, like, hey, I got this. Because Slack is going to be waiting as soon as a user hits the shortcut. Slack's going to be waiting to figure out, like, did anybody hear me when I said that to an app? And then that's your way of saying, yep, I got this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then, as I mentioned before, this has a bunch of information that we're going to be utilizing in our app. And the way we're going to be doing this is basically by like destructuring some of the data that's provided. So the first thing that we're going to get is information from the shortcut. And this is going to be like the user ID and the trigger ID, which are going to be useful for the view. So okay. Okay, so after that, like the main section for this function call is basically to just set the view. So what we're going to do is we're going to do await client.views.open, which is another function. And then within there, we're going to actually specify the view that we want. So we're going to have the trigger ID first. And then afterwards, we're going to have
a view.
Yeah?
I was just saying there's a view.
Yes. Yes. So then you make the actual like view object, which you have to specify in here. And the type that we're going to have, as we mentioned before, is a modal. And the callback ID, which is going to be used, as I said before, to just kind of like thread all of the events that occur with this, is going to be pull shortcut modal, which is the same both here and there. Okay, and then we're also going to have a title for the view, and that's just going to be plain text. Slack actually lets you have like a bunch of different ways that you can write things out. Sometimes using Markdown is helpful, which you'll notice when we build other sections of the app, but for now we can just use plain text. So I'm going to say create a new poll. Okay, yeah. So then
looking good.
Yeah, continue.
I was just saying looking good.
Yeah. So then after that, we're going to actually specify the blocks within the view. So within what the user actually sees, we're going to have different sections, and each section is going to be represented by a block. We're going to have 3 main blocks. The one for like just selecting the channel that you want the poll to be in. The second one for actually posing the polling question. And then the last one for a number of options, which we can do like 2 or 3. So then we just do blocks. That. So they all have like very similar features for the most part, but you'll notice that there is a little bit of difference with the first one. So, okay. The first thing that you will need is just like a type. So this is going to be input, since this is just like helping the user select which channel they want things to be in. So. Okay, and then we'll do the block ID.
Fifi, I think you want to wrap this in some curly quotes inside of the square brackets.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, curly brackets inside of the square brackets. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. So so this represents all of our blocks, and within this is just like one of them right here. So we'll have like a target conversation, and that'll be the block ID. So if we ever need to refer to this block specifically in the future, then that'll be like the name, I guess. And then within that, we'll have a specific element. So we'll only have like one element in here. So it'll be of type conversation select. And this makes it really easy for users to just kind of select whatever they want without us having to actually create any of that information ourselves. And then also we'll have a placeholder that can just say select a conversation. Okay, and then we'll also have like emojis for fun. Just let them choose. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the first block.
Yeah, let's pause right there, and I just want to kind of nail some of the points about what we're doing here, because earlier we talked about like what is block kit, what are views, what are modals. So if you don't mind scrolling up just a little bit, scroll up, please. Scroll up, please. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So when we call on line 15, when we're saying client.views.open, we're actually opening a modal. And I know it's a little bit confusing because it says views there. It doesn't say modal, but views.open is the web API method. So if you're looking at Slack's documentation, you'll see the web API out there for opening a modal. And the arguments that Slack expects, well, there's trigger ID and view, which we've been writing out here. So the view is the sort of package you hand to Slack and say, hey, put this package up in front of the user in a modal. But inside that package, we have to describe like, what does that view look like? So obviously we would say it's going to be of type modal. The title is also important because that's like part of the little pop-up that the user will see. And then you can put as many blocks in there as you like. There's actually a limit, but it's a pretty big limit. So for your purposes, as many as you like. And that's why we use an array, right, for blocks. And this is the place where we're starting to think about block kit. So earlier when we were going over the concepts, there's views, there's modals, we talked about that. Now this is block kit. And Fifi's chosen to use an input type block, which is a pretty special one. that works really well inside of Modals. There's like probably like 15 different kinds of blocks you could use. But the input one is special, and we'll see why it's special a bit later. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, the element inside this block, an input block, can be lots of different things. It can be a button. It could be a text entry like field. It can be a long text entry field, but we've chosen to use a conversation selector. And that basically is a drop-down that shows you all the channels in your Slack workspace. So that's just what we've chosen to put inside of this modal so far. This is us like building out the user interface. But yeah, go ahead, Fifi. I think we're more to add onto this too.
Okay, so yeah, after the placeholder and all this, we also want to have like a filter. So for what the users can select. So we're going to have them be able to include the public, in quotes, public, and then also MPIM, which I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, is like multi-party IMS, like IMs or anything.
Yeah, it's a funny little like part of how Slack was originally built. What we call DMs now are in the API still called IMs, because originally they were just instant messages. Now they're direct messages, but MPIMs are what we call group DMs in Slack. So that's all it's saying is you can include the channels that are public channels. You can include the channels that are group DMs. Those are cool too.
Okay. All right. I think I actually put this in the wrong place. It's actually, yeah. So within the placeholder. So, yeah. So within the placeholder, you're supposed to have a type, and this is supposed to be plain text. And then you can also have like the actual text in there. So this would be right here. Okay, and then emojis are true right here. And then
not the comma at the end of 34.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. And then from there, we can specify the filter again. So okay. So after that, so this is what we wanted to include, right? But we don't want them to be able to access. So we don't want them to be able to access like bot users, so that's kind of weird, right? So we're going to do include bot users, and we're going to set that to true right here. Okay, so outside of that, we're going to have an action ID. So this is also like, so if any like actions are performed on this block element specifically, then like in case you just want to know something, it's specified. So you do block ID, and then we can just do like selected conversation. And then from there, we are done with this block for the most part. Okay. And lastly, all we need, so now that we have like all of the interfacing and everything, like this would technically like work by itself, but it would be really helpful to also have like a label for this for the user to kind of understand what that's there for. So I'm gonna have one right here for plain text. And then the text will just say like select the conversation. Okay. And then also, we're just going to enable emojis here too. Okay.
We're getting a little bit of warning there. Let's figure out what that is.
Yeah, I think it might be in the, is it in the wrong spot? I think maybe like one up. Yeah, okay. So it's a little bit hard to see from this perspective.
Yeah, no worries.
And I think the action ID might be in here.
Yeah, I think it's part of the element, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Comma, yep.
Okay, so now what I want to do is to kind of show you what this looks like. So it's hard, I know it's hard to kind of visualize what we've been building. So Slack actually has a really great tool for this called the Block Kit Builder. And I wouldn't really recommend it for, here, I'll just delete all of it. No. Okay, I'll figure this out while I'm talking. So Block Kit Builder is basically like a way for you to visualize what you're about to build. So if you, for example, just want to see what an interface would look like before you program it, or like to actually help you with programming it, then that's a really helpful tool. So I'll go in there and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so are you able to see my screen right now?
No.
Okay. How about now? Can you see this?
Yep, yeah.
Okay, so if you like see all of the, like this is what we just coded out right here, and that's kind of what it looks like. So we can add a bunch more things from here, but all we're gonna really be adding is the question that they want, which will be like a text input, like right below here, and then a couple more options. So let's just,
yeah, Block Kit Builder is actually really cool because like on the left side, you have all these like ideas of what all the blocks are, right? And so there's like input blocks and image blocks and heading blocks and divider blocks. There's like all these different blocks. And it's kind of fun. You get to like play around with the UI there. You can just drag things out, drop them in your either modal or your app home. There's other surfaces as well. And on the right side, you got that JSON that is essentially something you just copy and paste into your Bolt app or however else you choose to build your app, and just drop it right in and know that like that's the thing that you just built. Like that's what it's going to look like when your user sees it in Slack.
Yeah, it is really, really helpful to just help you like visualize what you're building in the end, because I know like it can be hard, especially when you're programming, to understand like, I guess, where the end goal is. So yeah. The next part is just building the poll question, which is pretty simple compared to the last one we built. So it'll also be a type input, and then also have a block ID. So we can just do like a poll question for this one. Yeah, and then same thing, just an element and a label. Here, and the type would just be plain text input. Since we want the user to actually be able to type something for this one, it's not like a carousel type thing. Yeah, so we do that, and then have just an action ID here, and say so they have a poll question. That's probably not a very good one, I guess, but just as an example. Yeah, so then all we need otherwise is just a label right here. And this will just, again, like remind your user towards like what they're actually supposed to be filling out. Okay. So that also looks pretty simple. So I'm not really going to go over this part in the block builder, but yeah, so full question. The last part will just be like actually building the poll options. So this is usually like a fixed number. We're going to do like 3 different options that the participants can vote in. So just 3 other elements. So the type for this one's also going to be input. All of these are input. And then I'm going to have a block ID. And for this one, actually, like the name does matter. So I'd just probably do something like, I don't know, option 1, option 2, but make sure it's actually descriptive since you're going to have 3 things that are very similar. Okay, so then we have the type, also just plain text input. And then we're going to do action ID. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty simple for this part. The only other thing that you really need is a label. Okay, option 1. So yeah, this is really, really simple. The options, all you need to do is really just like let them specify what they want to be the option. Like it's not really that difficult from the user input perspective, but once we actually start building the poll and the message, it'll be a little bit more complicated. So have that, and then we'll also let emojis be true for this one. And then with this, we can just copy and paste for like 2 or 3 more poll options. Okay, so lastly, so outside of the blocks, you actually want to submit the view. So you can see this right here. So you just have like a submit property right here, and then we'll just do the type plain text, and then you tell the user to start the poll. Okay, so that should be like the first section of the app. So we can actually start so we can actually just like look this over and see if the shortcut works. So after you save, make sure to restart the app. So do Control-C and then call the app again. Okay, so we have a bug with the async function. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, so I'll just go into Bolt and then show you guys what it looks like. I mean, not into Bolt, I'll go into Slack and show you guys what it looks like. Okay. So can you guys see Slack now? So I don't know, let's add. Okay, so we do. Let's try that again.
I think that might be a different app than the one you created.
Oh, okay.
So have we installed, it's this workspace that you installed it into? I think it is, right?
Yeah, it should be like right here. Let's see. Oh, maybe, so I think I need to create a shortcut first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should have spotted that out earlier.
Okay, so basically, like so you need to actually like make a shortcut in the Slack app as well. So let's go and do that. So
yeah, we're back in the browser now. She's just going to go to api.slack.com/apps, find the app that we created a little earlier. And in the little sidebar, there should be an area for interactivity and shortcuts. Yeah.
So right here. Oh, I'm in the wrong. Actually.
I didn't think you called it week 2 polling. I thought you called it just
polling.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Is it the right
naming?
Oh, don't worry. But like, is this in the right workspace? Can you scroll up a little bit, click on that little selector? Oh, it is. Huh. That's funny that it wasn't showing that earlier.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Yeah. So what we need to do here is we need to enable events first. So we'll be using this in the future anyway. So if you get, so if we just get like, I don't know, one of these, and then we go back to ngrok. I'll just copy and paste the one I have from here. So if you go to ngrok and then you get the forwarding link, you should be able to copy and paste it here and then do Slack/events, and it should be able to like pick up. Okay. Oh, it says .events. So. Okay, so this is verified. So we can save the changes here. And then also we will need to go to interactivity and shortcuts, and then this will also use the same thing right here. So we want to save that and then also make a new shortcut. So we can name this polling app. And it creates a poll. So remember that we did make a callback ID. So this does need to be the same as what we did in the code. So I think I did like poll shortcut modal. Yeah. So do that. Press create.
Yeah, just to remind everyone, that's then in the code where it says app.shortcut and then open parentheses and the first argument is a string. That's what we call the callback ID. That's the thing that she needs to match here.
Yeah, so I just save that and then I have to go and reinstall the app to actually get the changes. Okay, so now let's go back to Slack and see if it works.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Okay, so. Okay, can you guys see Slack?
Not yet.
Okay. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, so polling. Okay, so there it goes. So that is the interface that we just built. So I don't know, we can specify like color, like favorite color or something. So all of this would work and all of this input would work, but it wouldn't actually like create the poll. So if I go here and I do start poll, or I guess I have to write stuff in here. So if I did that, it would work, like the interface would work, but notice that there's no like actual back end. So this information isn't going anywhere. And so when start poll is pressed, there's an event that is created. But as mentioned before, like since this event isn't acknowledged, since our app doesn't know to look for it, we're having trouble connecting, and it just tells you to try again. So we're going to go back and code the actual what the app should do once this information has been submitted.
Yeah, perfect. Just to highlight what I think, Fifi, you got it exactly right, which is like nobody acknowledged it, right? We talked about it a little bit earlier, like Slack will say something like, hey, app, do this thing, like open a modal. That was what we were trying to do earlier, and we had to call that little act function, and that was like, okay, I got this. I will do something with this shortcut. Now what's happening is there's a new kind of event that happens when Fifi clicks on create a poll, like that submission, but nobody acknowledged it. And so Slack is like kind of saying, well, nobody answered when I tried to see if anybody would acknowledge this. And in case in the future you see that little like red error area, that's what you should be thinking. Like, okay, has something acknowledged this yet or not?
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna actually like get to the part where we acknowledge that part. So how we're gonna do this is we're going to basically create a view. So we're gonna create another view that will be posted in the chat. So that is like a really versatile way to actually use a view. So what we're gonna do is just call app.view. And then again, we're going to use the same callback ID because that ties back into the previous view where we got, where we're hoping to get all the information. And then there, we're going to call another async function. Pretty much the same thing. So, and then the parameters that we're hoping to get, the information that we're supposed to get when this event happens, are the body, and then the view, and then the client. So the person who actually like called that, who actually created the poll. And then, okay, so, oh, that's wrong. So from there, we can actually go here and specify what we want to happen in that case. So the first thing that we do, as always, is to acknowledge that the event occurred. And then afterwards, we are going to grab information again. So from here, we want to get the user information. Yeah, we want to get the user information from the body. So do that. And we get that information from here. And then we also want a lot of other information, but we want this from the actual view itself. So these will always stay constant, but we want to get the target conversation. So basically all of the stuff that we asked the user for in the view, we want to get the data from so that we can reconstruct it as a message. So we want the target conversation, the full question, option 1, and then option 2 and 3. And we want to get this from the view, but so like when it returns the data, it doesn't just return like, I don't know, like you have to like specify where it's from. So from the view, it's in the state, and then from the properties in the state, it's the values. So yeah. Okay. So we always know, like, again, since we're always going to be referring to the same view that has this callback ID, we're always going to be able to get this information, or we should always be able to like, yeah, we should always be able to get it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to actually post the message. So I'm going to do and timestamp. So we're getting the channel and the timestamp from this message, from this function, which will be returning, which will be actually like returning the message that we get, that we are creating. So we're going to do target conversation dot input, and then we're going to get the selected conversation that the user inputted. So that. Wait. Oh no, that's wrong. So from here we do wait client, and then yeah. So then we do this. So we actually call the function to post the message, and then within there we specify the details. So the first detail is going to be so all of this is going to be in a block first off. So that we have like the actual section for the targeted conversations. So it's going to be really similar to what we did in the past when we were actually creating the modal. But yeah, so it's going to be a section. And then, so the text is going to just kind of like outline what the information that the user is going to get is. So the markdown, which is, so if you haven't used markdown before, it's just like a way of like making text pop out. We're going to be using markdown because when you like send a message, it's like easy to like highlight the important information. And one of the important pieces of information in here is going to be the person who sent the poll. So do that, and then we use backticks for this. And we are going to get the user information that we destructured. So then we are going to say that it wants to know. And then we're going to put the poll question in there. So, and that.
So if you haven't seen this like dollar open bracket inside of a string in JavaScript before, it's just a way to substitute values inside of a string. So like in this case, Fifi's just putting the values of user.id, which is like a weird looking letter number combination, into the string. But then surrounding that is this like angle bracket, like less than at symbol, and then around the other end is the greater than symbol. And what that does, that's like a special Slack thing, because if you put a username in between those specific characters in the string, it'll turn into like a mention. So it'll like look nice and pretty inside of the message because it'll show their whole name. And if the user hovers over it, it'll have that like blue highlight around it, show their like profile card. So it's smarter than just like substituting their actual name into the text. It's like turning that user ID into a full mention that like feels interactive and nice to use in the app.
Mm-hmm. And that's like actually a really clever way to do that now that I think about it, just having like the little @ symbol outside of it and then getting, yeah, that's a really clever way of doing it. So I forgot to add in, so you want to get the actual channel that you're posting this message to. That's pretty important. So that's where the target conversation goes. So okay, so you get that, and then this should all be in one object. Okay. So that should all be in one object for just like the targeted, for just to get like information about the user and the poll question. And then from there, all you need are the 3 options, right? So what you need to do for this is make another block. Okay. So yeah, you make another block, and this will be a section as well. And then text. For this one, the text doesn't really need to be like super well formatted or anything, since it's just like an option. So do plain text for this. And then the text will just say, I don't know, it can just say like 1. And also, it can also do the same thing where we grab the data again. Oh, so also make sure to do this in backtick so that you can actually get the data. So yeah, that and emojis. So this allows people to vote with emojis, which is pretty fun. So that, and then you just do it for all 3 of the other objects. So this is coming up with an error. Do you see an error here, Dunker?
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're cold. There you go. You got it. Yeah, there it is.
Thank you. Okay, so let's do that. And then really the same thing. So since they're like basically the same anyways, all you have to do is copy and paste the same information.
I think you want to remove the space between like the opening colon and yeah, there you go. Probably do that in the other ones too. Yeah.
Okay. So now we are almost done with this. So I don't think this will actually let me run it and show you what it does so far because you need to acknowledge some of the voting options. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to go, I think it's a little bit outside of the, yeah, so it's going to be outside of post message, which is right here. And then we're going to await when, we're going to wait for the client to add like a reaction. So that. So this is going to be like a function call right here. So
yeah, I think you actually want to put it outside of the parentheses. So right now you're, yeah, just go a little bit lower. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, thank you. So we want to get this information. So remember that we got all of this from posting the message. So we're going to use that data again. We're going to use that data to specify like what we're waiting for. So we're going to do that, and then the name, which would be 1 for like option 1, and then the timestamp, which is the other piece of information that we got. And then we'd copy and paste these for the other two. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that should pretty much be it. So it's time to go back to the Slack app and check if it works. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Can you see the Slack app?
No.
Okay. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, so polling. So let's try that. Let's do general. And then what is your favorite color? And blue, green, or white. And then hopefully this works. So.
Oh,
okay.
no. Okay, let's figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, let's leave this and then go back to.
Yeah, so we saw that red message, right? That red banner. And earlier I was saying, the first thing you should think when you see that is like, did anybody acknowledge this? So let's start there, I think, when we look at the code. Let's figure out if maybe we did something wrong around the acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right here. Yeah, so it says that it was not acknowledged within 3 seconds. So,
So I have a little suspicion here that maybe our callback IDs didn't match. Maybe we should look at that first. So I know that you used the right callback ID when we opened the shortcut, right? Sorry, when we opened the modal after being invoked by the shortcut. So let's take a look at what the callback ID here is. Okay, pull modal, shortcut modal. So this is actually interesting. Slack isn't very strict about this, so you can repeat some of these callbacks when maybe it's not the best practice. But just to be really clear and make this example clear, let's try and adjust this to be what I think is the right way. So you should probably use a different callback ID on line 11 than on line 19. So you can, yeah, one of those, just make a change to one of them.
Okay. Is that okay just for now, or?
Yeah, pull shortcut's fine. But the one that we're using on line 19, pull underscore shortcut, that's the one we want to use in the argument to app.view that you're doing underneath. So just remember that that's what you want to use there. So this will be pull underscore shortcut. Yeah. It might not fix it, but it's worth a try. Oh, wait, I got another issue. Oh, I think it's the same thing we did last time. Yeah, just put that semicolon and probably.
Okay.
That should work, actually, yeah.
Okay, let's try again. Okay, can you see?
Yep.
Okay, so this is like a tester, so I'm just going to delete this. Okay, so, okay.
And while she's typing that out, what Fifi did in the composing box is she typed the backslash, which is what we call shortcuts, and then she like found the app through the menu and then found the specific shortcut. Okay, no problem this time, huh?
It doesn't actually do anything. Maybe it wasn't acknowledged again. It says an unhandled error, so let me show you again.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I can.
Yeah, okay, so it's saying app.view is not a function, which probably means we just like messed up like some scope or variable or something somewhere, because we know app.view is a function.
Oh, wait, sorry, this is in the wrong place. So it says,
oh, okay.
So select a conversation is undefined.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we might have just destructured that variable incorrectly. Let's take a look at that.
Okay, so that would be like right here.
So it's saying selected conversation. Yeah, okay. View.state.values is where you got target conversation from. I'm not sure there's a dot input there, but you know what? I could be wrong. So here's what I like to do. How about just above line 131? Like we just make a new line there, and you just use a handy dandy console.log and print out what we got in target underscore conversation. Yeah. We'll try this again, and then now on the terminal below, we should be able to see what the shape of that object looks like so that we can debug why this was coming out undefined.
Okay, so I'll just go back and like redo this.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. It says, yeah, so it does have.
Okay, so it's selected conversation. Dot selected conversation. Oh, I see what happened. So, okay.
Oh, I changed the name, didn't I?
Yeah.
Did I change the name?
Yeah. Oh. That's okay. I mean, so it's something that I forget all the time as well. When we created the modal, we got to pick a name for what the value would be. Yeah, and Fifi picked selected space conversation, which, yeah, sometimes spaces are hard to deal with, so it's smart to just use a underscore instead. And now below, will it just work? Select
oh, gosh, and I remember specifically saying to be careful with your action IDs.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me screen share again. Okay. Okay, you can see now, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
What is your actual favorite color?
White. I
Why?
always put white there because people don't think it's a real color, but I have to
It's all the
disagree.
colors.
Yeah, even better. Okay.
Okay, so still let's see. Let's go check the console.
Yeah. So, yep, it's like the same. It's the
Can
same
you
issue. Can you
switch
see?
over? Yeah, screen share.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. How about now?
We're good. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, I was a little bit uncertain about it because if you show what was logged out, like the JSON blob thing, the thing we did console log, there it is. Yeah. So inside of there was like a property called selected conversation that has another property inside it called selected conversation. Do you see how that is?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to adjust the way that you looked up that value.
Okay.
So yeah, so it would be, well, the object that we logged out was target conversation, right? So what we wanted to use is target conversation dot selected conversation dot selected conversation.
Aha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back here. Okay. Oh, you can see, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, fifth time's the charm.
Yeah. Okay, color.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Do you see anything in the console?
Yeah, so it says unknown. I don't know why it's undefined. This was working earlier.
Could I take a look at the error?
Yeah, let's go back to the terminal. Okay. Okay, can you see?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, what do we got? So an unhandled error. Okay, that's fine. And then looking up a little bit, we see that it was a both unknown error. Let's go. And it says that the original error inside that was cannot read property value of undefined. And it's telling us that happened on line 140. So
Okay. Is that the same
yeah,
thing here?
might be, yeah, because I think you used the name input in maybe the first time you wrote out this app, and now we use different names, so we got to replace that.
Okay. So then that'll be okay. So for the question,
You have a poll question.
Oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is my fault.
No, don't worry. By the way, as somebody who works writing code for a living, this is like 50% of my day is just doing this kind of stuff, like console log this.
Okay, so let's just change these to like option 1, option 2. And where's
You call that one input.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Now it should work.
Well, we want to change, sorry, at the bottom when we actually look up the value, it's no longer called input. I think it's.
Yes. Oh, well, actually this one I think I did it
Oh,
right.
I see. I think you did it right. Yeah, you're right. Cool.
Okay.
Or I think you did it right. We'll find out.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Let's take a look.
Yeah. Okay. So same thing, 140.
Yeah, so I'm seeing it say cannot read property value of undefined. So that means the thing before the term value is the thing that's undefined, right? So it's saying, essentially it's saying input is undefined. And that's on line, like you said, 140. So did you use poll_question as the name of the question action ID? Sorry, block ID?
For the block ID. Yeah.
Yeah, poll_question. Okay, cool. Oh, interesting.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that might be
goodness.
it.
Okay.
Don't worry, I wouldn't be surprised if we had to do this once or twice more. It's okay.
All right. Wait. Oh gosh, the joys of programming, right?
It's cool. Eventually, you just get used to this stuff. And sometimes you know how to like find it before you run it because you've seen the same kind of problem over and over. So you like double check your work before you run it. But yeah, let's take a look at the error.
Okay. Same. Okay. I don't know why. So you can see what I'm doing, right?
Yep. 140.
Okay.
Property value is undefined. Property value of undefined. Yeah, so my suggestion is to do a little bit like what we were doing earlier. We just console log out some of these things to make sure we understand what they look like. So yeah, let's get rid of that console log. Well, I guess, yeah, we can just substitute the other thing, poll question, because that's the thing we're kind of stuck on here, right?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I mean, we didn't expect it to work. All we wanted to see was what's on the log.
Okay. So, oh, yeah. So, okay. So, yeah. So it just has the
Post
time and the
question.
value. So no.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too at some point. Okay, so no input, just value. That's great. Are there other places we like maybe used input and shouldn't have? Yeah, I think those might also just have value.
Okay.
I'm not sure. We'll find out.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and console log those in the same line that you console logged poll question, just so that if we end up stuck, we don't have to run it all over again.
Okay. I mean, it's okay if I just do one since they're.
Yeah, they should all be the same. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so. Okay.
No, that's how I thought it would work.
I
But
know.
thankfully,
Okay.
we put the console logs there, so maybe we'll figure it out without having to run it again.
Yeah. Okay, so we did get.
Whoa, this time's a different error. Okay, not in channel. That's a different error. Awesome. This is something I can help out with. So.
Not in general. I think that might be my fault. I need to add.
Yeah. But this is a good chance for me to just explain something. When you build an app, and we at the very beginning, Fifi was like, "Oh, we got to install, so we need to just pick some scopes, and then we'll be able to get a bot token that we put in our environment variables." That was great. That got us off the ground. But when we add those scopes, the specific scope we need to call chat.postMessage, which is what this error is coming from, that specific scope we added, which is cool. It was chat right. But the way that it works is it only works if your bot user is in the right channel. Like it can't send a message to a channel it's not in. So we forgot to invite the bot user for this new app into the channel that we're doing this whole poll thing in.
Okay, so I'll do that right now. So. Okay. Okay, so polling should be there. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, now, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's go, general. And then, okay, so hopefully this should work. Yes, oh my gosh.
We got some undefineds though. What is up with that? Well, we made progress. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this is maybe the same part of the same issue. Let's go back to the code.
Yeah. Well, we logged out what poll question looks like and those options look like, so maybe we can fix this really quick.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, let's.
Oh, this is a different error, huh? Missing.
Okay, so we need reactive. Okay, so we just need one more scope.
Well, I guess there's probably two problems. Like the undefined thing is still happening, and I think this is a separate problem based on the reactions. Like we couldn't do our reactions right. So we can come back and do the reactions right, but let's first focus on the weird undefines that we were seeing. If you scroll up, we should see what was logged out. Scroll up in the terminal, yeah. Okay, all right, so sorry, scroll down again. Yeah, so right at the bottom there, we see poll question had poll question type value. Option 1 had type and value. Yeah, so it feels like what we need to do is look inside poll question for a property named poll question, and then the property named value.
Okay.
So poll question dot value. Yeah.
Okay. And then the same thing for the other objects.
Yeah. 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 If you're thinking to yourself, this is weird, why would they make it that way? It is weird, and it's just like a result of the value names that we chose above. And sometimes like it's hard to pick ones that look really nice and elegant until you know how it works. So it's part of how you learn how to choose your variable names and stuff like that.
Okay. Can you see Slack?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh wait, before we do this, can we go add reactions right?
Yeah.
The scope. Yeah.
Good catch.
No.
Okay, so let's. Okay, let's do that. Okay, can you see what I'm doing?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go.
Auth and permissions.
Okay.
Yep.
And then let's go.
Go down a little further. You should see bot scopes. There it is. Yeah.
Okay, so I need.
Perfect. So if you're following along, like, yeah, every little kind of thing you do in Slack, you want to get the user's permission for that. And that's why we're specifying these scopes, and then she's having to click allow. That's her as a user giving the app permission to do that, because if every app could just do whatever it wanted, it would be chaos.
Okay, so let's go back to Slack now. Okay, and then
I got a good feeling this time.
Me too. Okay. Yay!
Yeah, and the reactions came in. Sweet.
Okay, so now you can like vote with your little emojis. And like, I don't know. I guess it just comes up with a bunch of emojis, whichever you ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the polling app. Yeah, so there are definitely a lot of like places where things can go wrong, but yeah, I think it's honestly very valuable even with that to kind of just learn, like that also helps you learn like the in and outs. So, I mean, I definitely learned a lot. So thank you.
Of course. No, I hope everybody got a lot out of this. If you get stuck on the homeworks and stuff, there's folks from Slack that are hanging out in the Discord. Please reach out. And I know there's awesome other students in there that have probably finished things and can help you out along as well. What did I want to close with? Oh yeah, there's awesome things you could do to probably improve this polling app. Like, I don't know, maybe summarize the poll and make it end after a certain time. Like, hey, you only want a poll to last for like a day or 3 days or whatever it is. You could probably think of creative ways to solve that problem we had about like the bot not being in the channel, just to get your brain thinking, how would you solve that? If you have some extra time, you want to tinker with that. Because it's kind of weird that we needed the user to know that they had to invite the bot to the channel before we could use the shortcut. So what could you do in the app to like kind of get around that little hiccup? But yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So yeah, I know today we ran a little bit long, so thank you, Ankur, for staying and like helping out. And thank you everybody who stayed and watched as well. If you have any help, if you need any help with homework or anything like that, I can like post like a Zoom link in the Discord to help you guys out like right after this. And also I understand that this might be a little bit complicated to just like watch the first time around, but I will also be doing a live stream with Daniel tomorrow, kind of going over the homework. So if you need any help with that, we'll be there tomorrow at like 7:30 as well. So yeah, thank you everybody for coming.
Take care.